What's up, YouTube? I'm doing a part 2 video of my favorite expendable blade by OERLA. I had this blade for about 8 months and I had it sitting in my armory and I completely almost forgot about it, and I wanted to do a review on it right when I got it, but that's kind of a scary thing to do, especially with a knife at this price point. My thoughts were, this thing's cool right now, and what if I recommend it and 6 months from now it's all, rusted, falling apart, whatever the case may be. So I held off on doing an actual review on this blade. I let it sit in my armory for over 8 months now, and I don't see any corrosion. I don't see any rust on the actual razored part of the blade right here. There is nothing there. I've examined it for the past day, still just as sharp and nice and clean as the day that I got this thing 8 months ago. And real quick, the reason I do that is because my armory is a terrible place to store guns, knives, tools, anything like that. It's very humid in here, and it's a terrible place, right? Which is why I put my guns and my tools and my knives in here for a year, just so I can make sure that all the surfaces are covered like they're supposed to. And if there is going to be a problem with my knife or my tool, leaving it down here is going to show me where those problem areas are going to be. Maybe this steel right here shouldn't be exposed because it's starting to rust. So leaving things down here lets me evaluate them better, because this is a highly corrosive environment. And then I, can decide whether or not I want to keep those tools or cover them, protect them. Either way, that's why I waited so long. And in the process, I lost some of the details on this knife, and somebody instantly asked me, they're like, hey, some review you're doing, you're not telling us about the steel, you're not telling us about the sheath. And it's a very valid point. The last video I made was more or less just like a show and tell, right? The other thing is, I was wrong about the price. I looked this up today. Amazon has them for $28. I've seen them for $26. I originally said it was like a $20 knife. Now, my explanation for this is, it's been a while, prices change, and I might have got this thing on some kind of like 5-10% sale. I do really remember this thing coming in at like right around $20. It might have been like $22 or something like that. Either way, we're going to go off of the new price that I just looked up. So it is $28 on Amazon. So do I think that do I think that price discredits this knife for the role that I'm using it for as a disposable knife? No, absolutely not. I'm going to order more of these. Instead of ordering 4 more, I'll order 3 more, right? It'll still come in under $100, and I feel great about that. I also did not talk about the sheath that this thing comes in. If we're gonna add $8 more to the value, I might as well actually review this thing properly and actually talk about some of the features on this thing and why it's most definitely worth $28 to me still. Let me just pan out here a little bit so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. So here she is. Here's the OERLA, right? I remember now, I was going to review this thing and I had the box and I had everything, and I cut the box up. Like, instead of making my video, I just started procrastinating, and then I ended up just cutting a bunch of holes in the box and really just shredding that box with this knife. It came in some kind of hybrid cardboard polymer box, and it was just really interesting to cut. Yeah, and then I had the hindsight to put this knife up and make sure that there is no bad reaction on any surface, no rust, nothing. It's killed it as far as the corrosion test goes in the armory. There's not a spot or a blemish on this thing, right? And I can show you right now where I have a rifle that's been sitting in my armory now for maybe about a month. I can already find a spot on that rifle where there's gonna be some corrosion. So the fact that this knife sat here like this, I didn't coat it in anything, so that's pretty awesome for this blade. I really did anticipate to have some kind of like little orange spots or like little corrosion spots where this blade is bare, where it's like actual razored. None of that stuff. Everything looks great. Knife is killer. Love it, right? So none of that has changed. Let me give you guys some quick stats on this, right? And this is according to Amazon. This is D2 high carbon steel. It's 420 HC, full tang, and it's got a G10 handle. So I mean, those are pretty much the specs on this knife, and right now it's $28. Shop around, you might be able to find one on sale. To me, they're still worth the $28 all day, and I'm gonna explain to you exactly why this knife is worth that to me. You could say that a box cutter with exchangeable razor blades could do somewhat of a similar job to this. I'm not saying that this is the only knife you should ever bring with you by any means, but let's take a quick look at, first of all, the sheath that comes with this knife, and then I will show you guys how this knife plays into my system of blades that I carry around in my gun bags, in my survival bags, all of that stuff. First of all, this is the Kydex sheath that comes with this thing. It's awesome. Everything fits great. Clips in. That's not going anywhere. That's not falling out. They have a really good contraption here. This opens up, this comes out, this snaps onto your belt or wherever. You can also rotate this clip, so you can clip the knife to you like this, or you can clip it on your belt sideways for however you want to pull this knife out. So this thing's awesome. This thing's great. You gotta love a good functioning sheath for especially anything that's razor bladed. And that is also why we're wearing a Michael Jackson glove today on this one hand. I have a puncture wound here, and that is the result of a terrible sheath. Not this one. Never had a problem with this sheath. Quick shout out to White Hills Knives. Don't ever buy anything from White Hills Knives. I made a video a long time ago. It's crazy to me how many people still pop into that video and talk crap about this brand. This is what a terrible sheath looks like. Here's why it's terrible. You see the blade sticking out? This is what punctured me. The crazy thing is I knew that this sheath was crap, and I knew to be careful with it. The bastard still got me. So I got quite a nice puncture right there. So sheaths are important, right? And the fact that they're giving you an awesome sheath that works very well, that's just killer. It was definitely a nice bonus to have this thing work so well with this knife. It makes it much safer, being that it is like an actual razor knife, right? And speaking of it being a razor knife, that's really ultimately what it's here for me for. Let me grab my camera here and just show you guys one of my bag setups. Here's one of my bags. Speaking of D2 steel, this bag has a knife on it already, nice and accessible. Now this isn't going to be the cleanest blade because it is covered in A&D ointment because that actually protects the blade from a high corrosion room like my armory. And ultimately this is what I do to all my blades. And then if I have to stab somebody, when the cops show up, I can say I applied first aid because there's technically A&D ointment on here. So this is also D2 steel. But let's actually look at the difference of these knives. Look at the thickness, look at the spine, right? This knife is gonna be able to hack. It's gonna be able to, you're gonna be able to do a lot of things with this knife that you shouldn't do with a razor knife, right? If I have to split some kind of piece of wood, I can do that with this knife. It's really thick, it's heavier, right? And just look at the thickness of the blade. Look how much material there is. It's really hard to snap this thing. Again, made out of D2 steel. This is a Morehouse knife. My son picked it up from Amazon, picked it out. And this Bad Mama Jamma, it was like $160, $180, right? Compared to Orla's $28 offering here. So this is a cool knife. I dig it. It's always on my bag. So I'll have this with me. And then for any of my chopping needs, we reach into the bag real quick. There we go. We have like a legit chopper, right? It's a nice little hatchet. This thing actually came, oh, it's the wrong side of it. This thing actually came with a great little sheath, right? Fits into the bag great. I had somebody ask me if like these hatchets and stuff were just for show, if they were decoration or they were actually functional. Yes, all my hatchets and stuff are functional. It's the whole reason I have them. So if I need to split some wood or do any work like that, these two have me covered pretty well, right? They're big, thick, robust tools. That's where this knife comes in. This knife's going to do everything that these knives can't. It's going to do all the fine work for me. I've cut food with this knife. It cuts food very well just because it's razor edged. And again, these work great as stakes. Like you can really stake them into the ground just because of the shape of them. You can stab them into a tree, hang something off of them. I suggest doing that after you mess up the razor edge on yours. Then you can just kind of use it as a stake or whatever. Any type of fine work, cutting canvas, cutting leather. This corner right here is just such an awesome little cutter, right? It just cuts so nice right there in that corner, and you can choke up on it. You can hold it right here. You need to do some scraping work. You can scrape with this, right? It also has these right here for good thumb support. So just a really, really good design that they've made with this thing, right? These knives can't do that, right? I'm not going to cut my food with that knife. With this, I can cut food, cords, rope. This is amazing at cutting rope because it's so thin and because it's razor edged. In an emergency where your life depends on cutting a rope real quick, you can tear through your ropes with this, and if you break your razor's edge along the way, well, first of all, hopefully, I hope you made it out okay, and second of all, you only lost a $28 knife, right? So that's why I like these. This one's worked. It has stayed in a high corrosive environment without anything on it. So I'm going to be putting A&D ointment on it right now. So yeah, I wanted to give you guys an idea of what this is actually being used for and why it's worth the even $28 price tag that's on it right now from Amazon, or if you can find it somewhere from cheaper. You're going to be able to do all of your fine work, and above and beyond a box cutter that's going to take razor blades, you're not going to be able to do some of the stuff with something like that that you can with this, just by choking up on this, you know. However you see fit. Cutting band-aids, cutting leather, cutting wool blankets, things like that. What if it's cold, I need to split a wool blanket and make 2 ponchos for my kids. I'm going to be grabbing this knife to do that. It's going to shear through that fabric with that razor edge, no problem, you know. So that's really what this knife's for. I am going to be ordering more because I need one of these in each and every single one of my gun bags and survival bags. And obviously those bags are also going to have blades like this. I'm even waiting on a Joker knife to review on this channel. That's going to be cool, right? So wanted to make a part 2 and actually address the price change. Again, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was just I got it on sale for 8% off, or the price was different 8 months ago, or, you know, the prices on knives do go up. The Nomad Joker blade I was looking at is anywhere between $130 to $180, and unfortunately Amazon wants like the $180 for it, of course. So, you know, knives do go up in price. Shop around, see what you can get, but I think these are definitely worth it, especially if you want something razor edged. And let's just be real here. A knife coming from the factory right out of the box with a razor's edge that sharp, that's worth 28 bucks all day. Just in my opinion. Love this thing. Gonna be ordering 3 more of them instead of 4 for my $100, or I'll wait for them to go on sale. Anyway, I hope this helps. Make sure to like and sub. All of this is brought to you by me. I'm not sponsored. There's nobody paying me to tell me what to show you. I'm just showing you my stuff, the things that I chose. If I make mistakes along the way, you can learn from my mistakes and not have to make your own. So hope you enjoyed. Thanks everybody for your support, and I will keep the awesome knife, gun, and accessory reviews a coming. Later, YouTube, and have an awesome day.